Before I open today's special session, I just wanted to remind everybody, because this is a special meeting, public comment is limited only to items on the agenda. I will ask the people who sent me cards. Some don't have it, items on here. And so I'll be asking you if you want to speak on an agendized item. With that, I'll open up today's special meeting, Wednesday, August 2nd, 2017. May I have, I will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Madam Assistant City Clerk, may I have a roll call, please?
Councilman Johnson?
Here.
Councilmember Toma? Here. Councilman Wu?
Yep.
Mayor Pro Tem Spence?
Here.
Mayor Warshaw?
Here. Madam City Attorney, are there any items to report out of closed session?
No, Mr. Mayor, no action was taken in closed session.
Thank you. Mr. City Manager, are there any changes to tonight's agenda?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council. There are no changes to tonight's agenda.
Great. And we have no presentations tonight, but we do have, I'm sorry to say, a couple of people who have recently passed away in the city. The first person that passed away, and I would like to honor her, and that is Sylvia Hernandez. Sylvia worked in our planning department as a planning assistant, and she worked from, I think it was 2001 to 2005. And she had left the organization to be a stay-home mom and take care of her family. Last month, Sylvia passed away. She had had a long battle with cancer, and she was sorely missed when she left the planning department, and she is sorely missed by all of us that have known her. And with that, please keep Sylvia's family in mind in your thoughts and prayers. And Councilman Toma, I think, Councilman Wu, I think you also had.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a adjournment for Tiffany Chin. I would like to adjourn today's meeting in memory of Ms. Tiffany Chin. She is the wife of Mayor Eric Chin, City of Warner. And she passed away in a car accident on July 20th. And I attended her service, which was held on July 30th. And Tiffany was survived by her husband and two teenager daughters. While being an amazing wife and mother to her family, her achievement in life has been fulfilling. She had more than 25 years of banking experience and was the first VP for California Bank and Trust in the Warner branch. And she also served as a participant activity for the American Association in Warner and the American CPA Association. She was always smiling and willing to help people. Okay, I can attest that because I always see her attending function with her husband. She knows that I like to post pictures on the Facebook. She knows I'm a Facebook freak. She always helping me in the function help me to take pictures so I can post on Facebook. So many times and now I lost a great friend and a camera woman, and this is so sad. I also know her as a devoted Christian, and so now God is with her, and may God bless her husband and family. She will be greatly missed by many, many people. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else on council that has an adjournment motion? With that, Madam Assistant City Clerk, at the end of the meeting, will you please note these adjournment motions?
Will do.
Thank you. With that, we'll move on to tonight's consent calendar. Is there anyone wishing to pull any items on the consent calendar?
Actually, excuse me, Mr. Mayor, we have to do public comments
Oh,
first.
excuse me, public comment. What was that? Okay. Do I have anyone that wants to speak on an agendized item, either from the consent calendar or the other, that I don't have a card from? Okay, and then Elsie, did you want to speak on an item tonight? Yes. If you would come up now then.
Caught me off guard. Mayor, council, staff, and everyone here tonight and at home, my name is Elsie Messman, a resident of West Covina. My first item is number 5, regarding an $80,000 increase for the attorney. She should be ashamed of herself. This is West Covina. We do have a South Hills, but we don't have a Beverly Hills. I went back to July 2016 through June 2017, and I found we have paid her company $589,727. I might have missed some billings also. I will repeat, $589,727. That is $49,144 a month on average, and her staff does a lot of follow-up, and I don't think they are getting paid top dollar. When February billings are paid in August, does staff really know what happened, or do they just approve it because she's the attorney? My next question is, how much has she recovered from the audit that was done on this city? Could it be that her firm, Jones & Myers, was working for the city since at least 2010, when Alvarez Glassman was the attorney and she didn't want to upset the apple cart? If staff can't make any decisions without an attorney or consultant, then we need to make some changes. Maybe we should get an attorney full-time at a set salary, and none of this $150 an hour, $175, and who knows how long they worked. We do need a good negotiator, as this city can't negotiate their way out of a paper bag. Come to West Covina and you can name your price, no questions asked. Item number 6. I think it would be great, it's a great idea to terminate the 25-year evergreen contract with Athens. The money the city gets from Athens is the residents of West Covina's money by raising our rates. They save money by billing us 3 months in advance, not on a monthly basis that other companies do, by saving money on postage, envelopes, paper, and staff, to name a few. We are billed regardless whether we use the barrels or not. In fact, in the fall and winter, there are not many green barrels out every week, and yet we have to pay for them. If they had to stop every hour at every house every week, then maybe we would get our money's worth. Maybe we should try for a month or two regardless, and have, excuse me, and have if we don't have anything in our green barrel, just put it out there and see how long their breaks last, the gas they use, and the time it takes. If staff wants Athens money, then they should all move to the city of West Covina and pay their fair share. Thank you.
Jerry Patras, West Covina. The Athens contract, the more I've been coming and learning about the Athens contract, the more, I think Gary does wonderful presentations and communicating, and I have a little better understanding of it. That said, I really, also as a taxpayer and a retired manager who dealt with purchasing, have a real problem with the evergreen clause. I don't think that's good public policy for 25 years and all of that. So I've been thinking, and what I would like to suggest is that perhaps Athens and the council could negotiate a reduction to a more shortened time frame. I'm not going to pop up numbers here, but I think the residents are making valid concerns and have been for this evergreen thing, and I don't think anybody would want to see Athens leave. They give us good service, and I'm a happy camper with that. It's the evergreen clause that really does need to be addressed to keep, I think, the residents happy, and we should be somewhat happy. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Our next speaker is John Shoemaker.
Good evening, everybody. Quick question. I was looking through the documents on the Porto's Bakery and Cafe lease agreement for parking, and I didn't see any numbers associated with it, so I take it it's free, unless I just missed it. You know, I thought it was kind of interesting. I can come over here to build a house and have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars worth of fees, and I have to pay for parking. I live in the city, and I have to pay for parking. You know, many times they'll talk about the cost differential or things like that. Well, all those, 106 spaces? Well, people are going to be driving up and down and utilizing it and everything else. Why aren't we charging them a minimal fee just to help pay for that maintenance? You know, that type of thing, especially when every decision that's made that affects residents, our city staff recommends a fee increase or a tax increase or a cut in services. Somebody else comes in that's a business and, oh, well, what can we give them? You know, I thought the lease agreement for a parking lot was a bad deal. You know, they just keep getting worse. Just amazing. Oh, bank fee analysis. We reduced the rate. I work for a little company, and you know what we pay our bank service fees? Nothing. I think a city that runs tens of millions of dollars through a bank can get a bank servicing fee for nothing, if the little company I work for can get it for nothing. You know, absolutely amazing. Oh, just a quick one that related to the $80,000, you know, in additional legal fees. I'm not going to argue whether it was needed or not. What I'm going to argue about is, why is it in July, you know, late July, early August, they're coming and saying, oh, I need another $80,000. I was never surprised after the year end by any attorney, corporate attorneys that I've worked with, that they needed additional money. Because, you know, I'd look at how much what our retainer was, and made an assumption if we're retaining them for $10,000 a month, that if I hit the 10th month of the year and I'm at $120,000, I call them and go, we owe you any more money this year? You know, and they'd say yes or no, and if they didn't tell me that they needed more when we had a retainer, they'd call up and say, hey, John, I need another $10,000. I went over the retainer, and I'd go, that's nice, you're not getting it. Guess what? They never failed to call and say they were running over that retainer unexpectedly. That was the one and only time they ever had to have that argument, usually the first time. They were smart enough to do it. You know, so, you know, again, it's just, it shows a lack of control and understanding. You know, I mean, it's not hard. They sit together here at a meeting. You're going to tell me sometime in the last few months you're going to go, Madam City Attorney, are we going to outspend that retainer? Yeah. Do you know about how much? Oh, I don't know, maybe $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000? Oh, okay, in May. So you could come here and go, before the end of the year, we need another $80,000. Again, lack of control, lack of experience. Those are the types of things that pop up. When I was listening to Elsie talk, she was talking about the amount of money. She got a worksheet somewhere that went back under the name of our city attorney's law firm, And I think you got it from the websites or things like that, and said these are the amounts of money we paid to the law firm. I don't think she meant that it was that when she was the city attorney, from those types of things. So, how much we've paid over the years. Because I know what they're going to do is, well, she wasn't our city attorney. We weren't paying her as a city attorney. But we have paid them over the years because Glassman used her also as a substitute in some of our cases. So, regarding Athens, God, when they had the opportunity to really do something, they blew it. It's just amazing. Yeah, they give good service. I have no problems with that. But anything initial contract after the initial contract, you're going to have a lot of upfront expense. I can see it being a 10-year contract, and then maybe you start renewing it at some point. Where there's you roll forward and those types of things. But 25 years. My God, from a financial standpoint, the banks are in love because they realize that even if you cancel it, it's 25 years from now before they'll stop making money off of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Herb Reynolds.
Thank you, and good evening to all of you and all the residents. Yeah, talking about number 6, the Athens contract, I'm pretty confident that it'll be quite a while before we enter into another evergreen contract agreement. The one that's on the agenda tonight that we're talking about predates all of you on this council. That was done by the previous council. It originally was a 12-year evergreen, and then it was brought forward by a former council member for discussion, and lo and behold, a 25-year evergreen was approved. As much as I don't like the evergreen, I think that we're basically have to live with it. However, since it is on the agenda, I think that a couple things to remember. If you vote to end the evergreen, as was previously stated, the contract's going to run for another 25 years anyway. Right now, with the evergreen in place, over the years, we've managed to get some benefits and perks based on the evergreen being in force. Money going at the time for the summer concerts and SWAT and other things benefiting the city. If the evergreen goes away, those perks go away. Since it's on the agenda tonight, it might be a good idea to do some creative thinking and creative negotiating and see what more benefits we can extract, for want of a better word, to keep the evergreen going. Athens provides other services. Athens provides graffiti removal, which we currently do in-house. Athens, at a cost, there's a cost to that. Athens also provides street sweeping, which we currently do with another contractor. There's also a cost to that. I don't think it's necessary that we give them the responsibility to do the deed, but there's a cost involved with doing that. And that's, to me, that's something I would throw into the barrel as far as a negotiating tool. Because whatever we give up as a financial benefit based on the evergreen being in force, the West Covina resident taxpayer is going to have to pay for it. So, and as I don't think anybody has ever stood up at this microphone and complained about Athens service. As was stated before, there's complaints revolving around the contract and the provisions of the contract. But the service, I don't think you can do any better. We know what we have with Athens as far as a service provider. So we can always go out and, try it with somebody else. But, Athens has been a good service provider, and, they do participate in the city. So, my advice is to retain it, the evergreen clause, or the rolling clause, whatever we're calling it this week. But I would negotiate and get the most bang for the buck that we can get while it's on the table and on the agenda. because that's what happened the last time it was on the agenda, when the city didn't really do that, and Athens came in and got a 25-year deal, okay? So I think it's now it's to our benefit to do what we can to get the most we can for the city and the residents, and I urge you to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. My next speaker is Janine Johnson. Okay, thank you. Our next speaker is Jim Grivich.
I'm Jim Grivich. I'm speaking to you tonight as the chair of your audit committee. I would like to remind the council that the audit committee recommended to the council that the council resolve the audit exception from the state audit about Athens, that specific item. This recommendation was presented to the council, and the council accepted the recommendation to resolve the audit exception. And as of yet, that hasn't happened. And just to refresh your memory, I'm going to read what the state auditor said about this particular contract. It said, based on available documents provided for our review, it does not appear that this contract extension is fair and equitable to the city and its residents. We are not provided with any type of evidence that the city's management and council considered exploring other options or bids from other companies. It is more than likely that this contract extension will eventually burden the city, as it has lost its ability to negotiate for a more reasonable rate for its citizens. This also will lead to rate increases over the next 25 years the city will have very little ability to control. That's what the auditor said. That has not been resolved. I think it is up to this council to resolve it. There are options on how that can be done, as some of them have already been expressed. The term of the contract can be shortened. At least at a minimum, the council should direct the city manager to collect data from other cities, essentially get their contracts, how much do they cost, what services are provided. I reviewed such a survey that was done by one city, and it was clear that very few cities pay what we pay for this service. This is not a criticism of the services that are provided. It's only a criticism of the process that was used to select this vendor. That's what the state auditor was saying. It wasn't done correctly. And the city, as of this moment, hasn't resolved the problem. I also recommend that the council instruct the city manager to go back to Athens and ask and negotiate a shorter term, because that's clear that that is what the state auditor wants to happen. And the residents of the city feel that this is inappropriate, especially in terms of the excessive length. Athens has stated on several occasions that they need a long-term contract to pay for their capital investment. Well, the capital investment doesn't need to be paid for over 40, 50, 60, 70 years, because with the evergreen eternally running, that's what's happening. It's already run for 5 years from when it started, so theoretically only 20 years are left in terms of amortization, if you want to look at it that way. So if you want to pick a number out of the air on what the term should be at this point, and it should be declining. 20 years now, 19 years next year, 18 years the year after that, because that's all it takes to amortize the capital expenses. Was suggested that we could perhaps get other services. I don't think that is the core of this issue. The core of the issue is an excessive contract out of the control of the city. It is very likely that the state of California is going to impose additional environmental requirements on the city. Unfortunately, there are probably going to be excessive costs. We already know that they're trying to do that with our water. Their current projected cost for that is $1,000 per home per year. And I don't doubt that environmental regulations in this realm are going to cost that amount also. The state is going to run a little experiment here to see how much they can tax places before the economy goes under, but time will tell on how that works out. But my point is that the city won't be able to control this cost. Athens can name the price, and you have to pay. There's no control with an eternal contract like it's set up, that you just have to pay what they ask. And when you have a reasonable time length and other vendors can come to the plate, then you can do something. One specific thing that I would suggest in terms of a contract amendment is to provide the ability for the city to obtain some other vendor for any new requirements that the state imposes. That's something that I think would be a really good idea.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Bertie Especia.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and staff. Excuse me for wearing sunglasses, but I had eye surgery, so the light's very sensitive. I'm going to have 20/20 after this, so watch out. Well, as many of you know, my name is Bertie, but back in the day, Emma Fishbeck, she renamed me because I took her position, the trash queen of West Covina. And I'm not going to lie, years ago when Dennis, I can't pronounce his last name, when he was in charge, and Steve Sanamiego was here in his little office, I had a lot of problems because I've owned 3 different properties in West Covina, so I was once a taxpayer for years. And I would come and fight, and Dennis would just tell Steve, I don't believe her. So one day I had to take off work, follow trash trucks throughout the city to prove that when they threw the trash into the truck, the trash was going all over the streets, and they would throw the cans anywhere and everywhere, never by the curb. Well, since then, when Dennis saw the pictures, he figured this woman is not lying. To me, things have improved. I now live in a senior complex. I've had complaints, and I would like you to keep Athens, but years ago I would have said, dump them. Athens has improved. If I have issues, I pick up the phone. I will call Gary directly. I will call Mark Martinez, and the job is done. Because even though I live in a senior complex, we have sloppy managers that do not obey the rules or the code enforcement of the city. And I would love to see code enforcement jump on all apartment complexes. A lot of them are in violation. We as residents will call code enforcement and they want us to do this, they want us to do that. Well, people get frustrated. But I think Athens has improved. The only thing I would like to see, and I'm speaking for a lot of people that are homeowners, they had the once-a-year trash pickup. A lot of people would love to see that twice a year. Because, people go on vacation, May or graduations around, and they don't have time to clean out the garages. So that I would like to see. But if anybody has a problem with Athens, the residents, call me. No, seriously, I'll take care of the situation. I will call. So even though I'm no longer a homeowner, we still have Athens where I live. I've been in the city 45 years. So I would like to see Athens stay on. Thank you.
Thank you, Bertie. Our next speaker is Fred Sykes.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council, city staff, members of the audience. I am Frederick Sykes, 39-year resident of West Covina, retired deputy sheriff, former mayor of West Covina, currently a member of the West Covina Oversight Board. I apologize in advance because I'm sure I'm going to repeat some things that have already been said. I got here late, and I'm sorry. I apologize. First of all, I want to start with saying that Athens services, I like Athens. And I like and appreciate Mr. Clifford. Mr. Clifford, I think we have a pretty good relationship. He's the executive vice president, and I appreciate his benevolent and vigorous community involvement. However, I love my community, and I love the city of West Covina. This contract is about the West Covina residents and what is best for the residents, excuse me, and the well-being of our city. I've learned over the few decades of living to be careful when something is offered for free. It is important to look for the conditions and consequences connected to what is supposed to be at no cost. Altruism and grace is one thing. However, understanding that obtaining something by way of legal and illegal bribery is different. The goal for our city should be autocracy and financial independence, working to make our city financially strong, safe, and prosperous. There are some conditions in this contract that are causing our city to go in the wrong direction. A long-term contract with 10 amendments is not in compliance with the letter and the purpose of the law on the open bidding process. Taxing the residents through the Athens Services billing process is disingenuous and deceitful. It proves that trust in our government without verification and our participation is a mistake. $300,000 a year added to city funds that are connected to the rubbish contract makes the city too dependent on money from Athens Services. This contract forces our city to adhere to their input and their approval of decisions at City Hall. Just look at this city council meeting tonight. And it also implies there's going to be suffering and pain with a bigger gap in our city budget. When the results of city elections and government decisions are influenced by a contractor versus what is best for the residents, that is wrong and makes our city government dysfunctional and weak. Since 1992, for 25 years already, Athens Services has had an exclusive trash hauling contract with our city. The law in California, the best government practices, and the policies require that all government contracts be put into the public for an open and transparent bidding process. The open bidding process is a proven way to protect the best interests of the residents, combat cheating, corrupting elected officials, and government takeover. Please comply with the California law on government contracts. Vote to stop the evergreen clause before our city becomes too ill and too weak to work its way back to being a healthy, independent, and full-service city that puts its residents first. Gentlemen, I thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Gary Clifford.
Good evening, City Council and residents of the City of West Covina. My name is Gary Clifford. I'm an Executive Vice President at Athens Services. Just real quick, I just want you to confirm that your city attorney will tell you, and I did go to the state auditor's office also to follow up. I don't believe that the statements that were made before you tonight were accurate, and the state law, the Public Resources Code, and there's many codes do not require you at all to go out to bid for waste and recycling for very specific reasons, and you can confirm that with your attorney. It might be the opinion of somebody that you may want to, but it is absolutely legal to not do so. In addition to that, I just want you to know that I stand before you tonight and ask for your continued support for Athens, for our contract, and for the services we give all of the residents here. We've served West Covina for many years, and our service is excellent, and all of the residents and businesses enjoy the benefits of that service. Our local city support has always been bountiful for your community, for all the service clubs, and for the youth organizations. A good example of that is right now, if you look at your Shop Local program, look at our trucks. They're donning the program banners that talk about shopping local and the after-school programs. We've always provided monetary contributions, in-kind contributions, and personnel, management people, and employees to meet and exceed all of the philanthropic needs of your community. More importantly, our diversion programs and recycling results are second to none. While citizens and businesses and all of the customers enjoy an ease of service, as compared to having to sort all your waste in your kitchen, in your garage, and then take it out to the curb. You don't have to do that with Athens. We're constantly working with you to improve upon and enhance our current relationship to keep up with the changing needs of your community and with your city government. We've provided you with, and this city council has changed the dynamics of our current contract. These contractual elements continually improve the diversion and the bottom line of the city while keeping all of your rates very competitive. And I want to repeat that your rates are in the average, the mean. They're not the highest and they're not the lowest. And I think over the last few years, you've heard me at your town hall meetings talking about all the benefits that your citizens get. Please continue this trend and let's work together to enhance our results while implementing our important environmental programs. I want you to know that over the period of just 25 years alone, that's $7.5 million we haven't raised a rate for that the city is going to get, in addition to the $2 million that was given up front to get that to the city. That's $9.5 million just to start. One of the things our contract also guarantees, which are some of the reasons you get into long-term relationships with waste and recycling companies, is the long-term disposal agreements. We as a company have worked out agreements where your disposal is predictable and it's accountable, and for many, many years, you're not going to have those spikes, and you haven't had those here. So I ask you to consider all those things. I'm available for questions and comments tonight if anybody has them, but I really hope that you decide to stick with us and give us an opportunity to work with city staff and even make this contract greater in the future. Thank you very much.
Gary, I have a couple questions for you. Bertie mentioned the one-time pickup, and I know for when we do throughout that week, picking up whatever people put out. But we do have other programs beside that. Maybe you can mention that.
We do it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council, for asking that question. One of the things that West Covina has that other communities don't have that have automated service is that you get 52 times a year, once a week, to put your bulky items out at the curb without a charge. And there's a limit to 5 of those bulky items, but I watch if there's 7 or 8, they get picked up, they just seem to disappear. But per the contract, there's a limit to 5 items. And all you have to do is call up Athens and say, Athens, this is Mr. Smith, and I have 5 items for you to pick up. They're at the curb. Here's the items. And we will pick those up on your waste hauling day with no additional charge. That counts for residents, that counts for multifamily, and it also counts for commercial. In addition to that, there's a very significantly different clause in your contract, which is the move in and move out clause. So if you move in this city, whether it's going to a retirement home or it's going to another multifamily dwelling or another home that you purchase, within the first month that you initiate service or the month that you terminate service, whatever you have to throw out, you call Athens, and it's like a mini big cleanup day. You just put it out, Athens picks it up free of charge. Just those things alone, if you've gone to a landfill recently, a trip to the landfill can cost you between $75 and $250, $275. That is a part of your current rate. And the other cities do not have that. So those are just a couple examples of some of the things that we currently provide. And as you know, there's several examples of things that we're going to provide in the future as we move forward.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Gary? Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, I have no other speaker cards. Is there anyone else that is wishing to speak on an agendized item? If not, I will close the public comment section. Mr. City Attorney, do you have any comments?
I think the items are addressed, but I think I'll turn over to the city attorney first.
Yeah, I would like to address some of the comments with regard to the budget amendment. We can't amend the budget until we know what the amount is. The amount doesn't become clear until you get towards the end of that fiscal year. we would have been guessing, and I think it would have been problematic to come back twice for something like that. I want to clarify, there seems to be some assumption or belief that I have had or do have some affiliation with Alvarez Glassman. I have never worked for that firm. I've never had any connection to that firm. I've never been referred a matter by that firm. I know that my partner knows Mr. Alvarez Glassman, but I've never had any association with him. The first time I ever sat down and talked to him was when I took over the contract for this city. I don't think he thinks of me as a friend, to be fair. So I'm not sure where that idea came from. I also, we did have a small contract with the city to do code enforcement work previously, but my understanding is that that contract was with the city, not with Alvarez Glassman. So I hope that that clarifies that issue for those who want to hold me responsible for things that happened before I got here. But with respect to the amount, I also want to clarify that the reason that we've had to do this, unfortunately, has nothing to do with my retainer. The retainer hasn't changed. We're not going over the retainer. These are all related to litigation expenses. As much as I would like to, I cannot stop people from suing the city. I do my best to try and keep those costs down, but they are beyond my control. So I'd be happy to answer any questions about that.
Are there any questions for the city attorney? Thank you. Any other comments by the city manager?
None, unless there's any specific questions with regards to the items on the consent calendar.
Okay. With that, I will move to the consent calendar. And is there anyone that wants to pull?
I want to pull the item number 2 and number 3, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Spence, you wanted to pull number 5? Yes. Does anyone else want to pull an item? With that, do I have a motion to approve items number 1 and 4?
So moved.
Second. It's been moved by Mayor Pro Tem Spence and seconded by Councilman Johnson to approve item 1 and 4. Madam Assistant City Clerk, may I have a roll call?
Johnson?
Aye.
Spence?
Aye.
Toma?
Aye.
Wu?
Aye.
Warshaw?
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. We will go to the first item that was pulled, number 2, Porto's Bakery and Cafe lease agreement. Councilman Wu.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the Porto Bakery about the parking lease, I really don't have any problem giving the free lease at all, because it's very difficult to have this anchor come to our city, and we need to give them something so they can create maybe 300 more jobs to us and attract tons of the patrons or the customers come to our city to shop. And the only issue I have is about, I understand we provide the parking for them. I don't know how safe for them cross the street. And this is one concern I have. And another thing, I think we really try hard to work with West Covina Plaza. I talked to them already. They are willing to share the parking with the future if they have 10,000 people coming in, because I think this is a good method to attract those new people come to our city and go into our shopping mall to shop, and they don't come over here just buy the bakery and go home. I think we can attract them to go to the mall so they can shop there, so we can get the sales tax and make the business flourish, in West Covina. So my suggestion is, have you tried to work with, West Covina Plaza to see they can take the fence away and we can let people to utilize the parking? That's my concern. Thank you.
To address that, we have reached out to the Plaza West Covina, and they too are concerned about any parking issues and the impacts to parking at the plaza. Porto's is required to contain as much parking as they can on their property. They have requested, Porto's, not the Plaza. Actually, excuse me, Plaza has as well. Neither party wants to take down that fence at this time.
Then again, so they don't.
Neither party wants to take down the fence that separates the party at this time.
So they still want to have a boundary right there.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Are there any other comments? Mayor Pro Tem Spence.
Yeah, I disagree with the speaker on this in the sense that, I don't have a problem letting them use the parking lot. I don't know if another council member is willing to support looking at the parking that we charge people that want to come to City Hall, because I do think that's a problem. That is nickel and diming people, and that's why I opposed it when the city first put it in. I remember I didn't support that parking fee in order for people to conduct government business or to participate. So I don't have a problem letting Portos or any business use our parking facility from the mall. But if another council member is willing to, I'm willing to look at the parking fees that we do already. No, so I'm willing, yeah, but just that way. So maybe that's some other May. We in September. But.
Is there anyone else wishing to make comment? Councilman Wu.
Mr. Manager, it's okay. I think last time I talked to them not too long ago with Lisa and I forgot another person, general manager. Okay, they told me they interested to take off the fence due to this can attract more people to their mall. Okay, I think who doesn't want more people to shop? Okay, especially you have a mall and it's fading away, and this is opportunity to have. So based on the conversation meeting I have with 2 hours, they told me they're willing to take it off. So I don't know when they told you they're not going to do it.
I actually didn't talk to them. I talked to their boss, the vice president, Lori Paquette. When we met with her in ICSC, she said that they don't wish to take it down at this time. Yeah.
Go ahead and move approval of this item.
Second.
Is there a second? It's been moved by Mayor Pro Tem Spence and seconded by Councilman Wu to approve Porto's Bakery and Cafe lease agreement. May I have a roll call, please?
Johnson?
Aye.
Spence?
Aye.
Toma? Aye. Wu?
Aye.
Warshaw?
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. The next item is number 3, bank fee analysis. Councilman Wu.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On this ground, I kind of agree with our resident, John Shoemaker, regarding, I think, regarding the fee, and especially Wells Fargo. Since I'm in the banking business too, I understand, Wells Fargo currently very soft, due to their situation, their reputation. I think we should try harder to negotiate with them to have a zero on the fee charge due to a big city, a big company. We have so much money in their place. They should charge you almost zero because they're already making money from all the fund we put in over there. So my suggestion is I think we should negotiate with them and try to minimize the fee. I think no matter how much, I think it's still too much. And when every time my company negotiate with them and they cut big times on the fee. So I think we should try on that. Thank you.
I appreciate staff bringing this back because I know it was something that I had requested. And, I guess the question is, it's easy to say that, everybody gets their check in for free. So how do banks make money? But these fees include wire transfers, returned items, the ACH fees. I don't know any company that gets that stuff for free. In fact, Walmart sets up a whole private bank in order to process stuff to try to lower the ACH fees and those kind of things. So, there's other fees included in this that I'm not sure any company, I don't know who gets wire transfers for free. Maybe somebody does, but I don't know anybody that does. And so I guess the question I have is, some of the stuff in here, does anyone do ACH processing for free? Huh? You get ACH for free? All ACH. They don't charge you anything to take something out of someone's check. Really? I have a hard time believing. But then the wire transfers free? I don't know. Wire transfers?
Correct, free.
Returned items?
Free.
All your returned items are free? Okay.
Stop payment, free. Wire off.
And then I don't know if there's different, I don't have a problem approving this for now, but if the staff wants to go back and do it, but we'd be stupid not to approve what we have here in front of us and not save this money initially, and then see if they can go back and get this other stuff for free. But some of this stuff, I know companies that pay for some of this stuff because they have to. It's just.
I don't mind to approve it. I don't mind to approve it. I just want them to negotiate. So hopefully, I think we have a chance for them to cut down more fee for us. Again, I do not mind to approve this, but I think we still have a better chance if you give a try, pick up the phone call and tell them, hey, we might walk, and I can guarantee, and then we'll negotiate with you and lower maybe another $10,000-$20,000.
One of the options here is to do an RFP as part of that, right? And that's not the staff recommendation. The staff is to just approve, right? The city council has the option to adopt the staff recommendation or direct staff to issue an RFP for banking services. Isn't it possible to do both?
Staff, if the council direction is to do so, but I will confirm that staff has spent a lot of time on the phone with the bank, and the bank has told us that this is the fees that they're willing to reduce to.
So
And the council has a choice if they want to do an RFP for the services.
Well, I'm willing that we change the staff recommendation and we adopt the staff recommendation and direct staff to issue an RFP for banking services to see if there is actually something that's better out there.
Mr. Mayor, could I clarify? Would that RFP be for the next fiscal year? Because this is a contract for the fiscal year 17-18.
Is it a total contract?
I believe it is.
Well, we don't have a contract in front of us. We just have the one item. We don't have that contract in front of us. We just have the staff report.
Yeah, I've never.
I don't see this as a
I haven't
contract.
seen a contract.
I don't see anything on here that says contract.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor,
I don't know, and perhaps, I don't know
Because
if
there's no
staff is here
contract.
to
This is
address
a-
it.
If we're approving a contract, it doesn't say that.
I think it's a yearly savings, so they were looking at expecting that this would be in place for the fiscal year. It may not be a contract, but I wasn't involved in the negotiations, so I think we can do the requested action, but I think we need to get finance staff to clarify with the bank that savings will carry forward regardless of whether we contract elsewhere in the future.
So I guess that means we're bringing it back then, because we don't know. Is that what
We
I'm
can
hearing?
certainly do so if that's what the council directive is.
Okay, I'm move we table the item then and bring it back at our next meeting. So we know what we're actually approving.
So
Can
I
I-
have a motion to table this item. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Mayor Pro Tem Spence and seconded by Councilman Johnson to table this item for further review and bring back to staff at our next meeting, if possible. I have a roll call vote, please.
Johnson?
Aye.
Spence?
Aye.
Toma?
Aye.
Wu?
Aye.
Warshaw?
Aye, motion passes 5-0. The next item is item number 5, fiscal year 2016-17 budget amendment. Mayor Pro Tem Spence.
Yeah, I pulled this off, and not for all the reasons that were talked about, but to discuss our ending balance then for 2016, because this is coming out of funds that was allocated last fiscal year, correct? And so we rolled that money over, didn't we? Or what was our ending balance? Did we have the 20% reserve? Did we have higher than that? And then, because we
Right,
rolled
so
that
the
over.
books for the year have not closed yet. There's still invoices coming throughout the organization. We don't close books usually till, I want to say, the end of August, early September.
So where did the money come from then for?
It'll still
for it?
come out of fund balance until we are able to close out the accounts for all the different departments.
But we rolled over when we approved the adopted budget. Didn't we roll over?
Based on
money that was-
anticipated, correct.
And so was this anticipated in that number?
It was not. But
It
it's
was
not
not.
part of the budget amount for the coming year.
I understand it's not part of
Yes.
the budget amount, but when we approved this and we included all the rollovers in the approved budget, we had a surplus of $55,000 or something, right, when we approved the budget?
No,
For the-
yes, that's for the surplus of the budget, but not the fund balance. We had
Right,
about a
'cause we had a
2%.
20% reserve,
We had
right?
about 22% reserve.
Okay, so that's what I'm trying to get at, is that, so this money's coming out of the 22%
It
reserve?
would unless we have additional funds from the remaining part of fiscal year 16-17 to help clear
And when
this
will
up.
we know that then?
Again, it won't be until after the books close in September, October time period.
Okay, so can you let us know where it came from?
It's coming out of fund balance.
It's just coming, so it is coming out of fund balance? then?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's what I was asking. So it's coming out of the 22% that we supposedly had left over at the end of the year?
Correct.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments? If not, do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
It's been moved by Councilman Spence to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And it's been seconded by Councilman Toma. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Johnson?
Aye.
Spence?
Aye.
Toma?
Aye.
Wu?
Aye.
Warshaw?
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. With that, we will move on to other department matters, and that is the Athens Service Rolling Contract Term and Provision. And with that, it was recommended that City Council discuss, if it desires, to exercise a notice of intent to terminate the Athens Service 25-year rolling contract or evergreen provision. Is there any report from staff?
I think the mayor has clarified, and so tonight's action would be just to initiate, should the city council adopt, or excuse me, approve a motion, it would be to initiate the termination of the evergreen, and not the actual termination. As part of the agreement, it says that there's a meet and confer process that would occur between the city and Athens, at which time the city would then have to come back and actually terminate the evergreen clause at a future date. With that, that provides a quick staff report, and if there's any questions, staff can answer those.
Is there any question or comment? Councilman Johnson.
I don't have, I want to make under discussion. I guess I do it under discussion. Okay. I remember when this 25-year evergreen or rollover contract was, I was sitting out in the audience when it started. It was brought before the council. That's when the Athens had a 12-year evergreen contract. And there was 4 council members on here that gave it to them. The 5th council member that was up here was Councilmember Sykes. Well, I have to tell you, the person that was in charge then was Dennis Cepeda, very smart businessman. Councilman Sykes brought it back up because he wanted to renegotiate the 12-year evergreen contract, knowing there was 4 council members up here that was against him, 100%. So being a very smart businessman, since it was opened up by Councilmember Sykes, Dennis Cepeda came up and said, fine, I'm asking for a 25-year evergreen contract instead of the 12-year evergreen contract we had right then. And the 4 council members gave it to him. If that 12-year evergreen contract would never been brought up by Councilmember Sykes, we'd only have a 12-year evergreen contract, and then that can be ended. But we do. We have the 25-year contract going forward. I see the benefits of the 25-year evergreen contract. We talk about the service that Athens does. They do a fabulous service. I know I've called for bulky items to be picked up. Not a question. They pick it up when they're supposed to pick it up. Do they drop trash on the ground? I've seen them when they put the cans up on my street. They dumped it, and some of the papers came out. The drivers get out, they pick it all up, put it in the trash can, and they go ahead and empty it again. They do a fabulous job. This 25-year evergreen contract, there's benefits to it, yes. And you can say there's drawbacks because it's there for 25 years. And every year it goes by, it's still another 25 years. But I look at the $300,000 one, which helps us. We can negotiate for more. I figure there is. We've had discussions that I feel Athens is willing to throw more into the kitty than just the $300,000 to keep it. And I feel, as far as the city is concerned, I think it's a good for us. Yes, a lot's going to say the evergreen's got to go away. But when it goes away, a lot of other stuff goes away with it. Can we live with it without the $300,000? You probably could. We'd have to figure out some way to tighten the budget to do it. There's some of the things like the fireworks would be gone, the concerts in the parks, and the SWAT, whatever. Because that's where a lot of that money goes towards. And all the other things. So at this time, this evening, I'm not willing to give up on the 25-year contract. I figure we can negotiate with Athens for even a better deal than we have right now. And myself this evening, I'm willing just to keep the 25 in place for right now.
Are there any other comments? Councilman Toma.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, I remember the meeting in 2012 when Athens got the 25-year agreement. I was in the audience. I spoke against it back then, and at the time, the Athens representatives, not the ones they have now, made a lot of assurances about how this was a great thing for the city, cost control, prices, we're going to get great terms, rates, et cetera. And, they had their friends and people come up to speak in favor about the service. And, service, I can't speak for the whole city, but seems to be good. But I will remind you that with a 25-year contract and an evergreen clause, I mean, this is 2017, 25 years ago is 1992. There were a lot of companies that existed in 1992 that don't exist now. There's a lot of companies that had good reputations in 1992 that don't have good reputations now. I mean, a lot can change in 25 years. And this isn't about the service, right? It's never been about the service. It's about a 25-year contract and evergreen clause that's bad public policy. I mean, that's really what this is about. So Athens came, said, all these great things for the city, protect the rates, et cetera. What happened? Less than a year after the 25-year deal was signed, Athens sends a letter to the city saying, we want to increase your rates. Just less than a year. When they came to the city for the 25-year agreement, saying they'd had done all this great work in preparing for the closure of the Puente Hills landfill, we've done all this good stuff to protect, the city, et cetera. When they asked for the rate increases, it was based on the Puente Hills landfill closure. I mean, the same exact reason why they said the 25-year agreement was going to be good and protect the city was now becomes the basis for increasing the rates for the residents and for the businesses. So I don't think the evergreen clause, the long-term contract, has been good for the city. Mr. Grivich mentions the state auditor. I don't know if it's the state auditor or the state controller. I'm familiar with the state controller report, which is very critical of the Athens contract. And, he read from it and it talked about how that eventually it's going to burden the city and it's going to lead to rate increases. And that's turned out to be true already. He mentioned getting a survey of contracts that Athens has with other cities. I think it's a good idea, regardless of what we do today. That is a good idea and should have been done probably sooner. When the rates were increased back in November 2016, I asked for a process so we get on the agenda to give a notice to terminate the contract. And there were suggestions that, we need time to negotiate away this evergreen. I thought Athens was pretty clear when they came up here that was very important to them, and that wasn't something they were frankly very interested in negotiating. I thought that was pretty clear to me at the time, and so I was very skeptical that was something that was going to be accomplished, but you never know, because people change their minds, et cetera. That was November 2016. It's now August 2017. How many months is that? And what has changed? I mean, I haven't seen a change, and I think if we were serious about eliminating this evergreen clause, that's plenty of time for it to have happened. So I don't know what we think is going to happen now. There are arguments. I understand there's costs. People can bring out these costs. Those are always going to be there. There will always be an excuse not to do something about this. So, the staff report had some provision from the contract that was a potential negative for the city. Didn't have provisions that are positive for the city. There are positive ones in the contract, and we can exercise that termination clause, the notice to terminate. So, the public and the people have been expressing their frustration with this for quite a while. We're all very, fatigued from it. We're all very, we've discussed this quite a bit, but it is important, and we shouldn't lose sight of how bad that contract is with respect to public policy. The Orange County Register did a survey of cities in Orange County with respect to waste disposal, and they found out that cities with evergreen clauses generally paid more on their rates, which just confirms what you would expect, because when there's no competition, you are not going to get the best rate. So I understand that it is a bad contract. I understand that we didn't agree to this contract and that we're stuck with it by a prior council's decision. But if this is the time to do something about it, because the reasons to not do something about it are always going to exist. And so I'll bring a motion to give notice to terminate the evergreen clause.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Motion dies for lack of a second. Is there any other comment? Councilman Wu.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to, give about from my background. I think everybody know I'm a businessman and I run my business, and I think like a businessman, I hope the city run like a business. And regarding about this issue, we have to think about pro and con. What we get, we decide to get rid of this 25 years. okay, what benefit we get? Okay, if we don't have this, what kind of, okay, benefit we're going to lose. So we have to think about that. This is what right now, currently, we don't have a muscle to say, hey, take a hike. Okay, we're going to have all the money because we can take care of everything ourselves. And another thing, people are talking about Athens buying all the politicians, okay, this and that. If we become district, maybe that's possible. But when I was running 2 years ago, okay, I self-funded, okay, and I even don't know Athens, okay, people at all. I do not take anybody's money from even union, okay, so because I'm self-funded, if you go to check my background. So I have to state this for me about what is situation. I have no problem with the Evergreen from Athens at all, as long as they provide more service for us, including sponsorship and all those things. I think it's more important if we can get more of a, okay, they can donate, okay, all the funds to us. We're just very simple. We're talking about Evergreen. And what I see, okay, a trash company has no different than any utility company. They provide a service. And right now we have Edison. They don't even show up to our town hall meeting. Where's the Edison people? What kind of contribution they give to us? What kind of Evergreen they have? They are monopoly. We only have to choose Edison. And how about water company? Finally, they show up this year and they give us $30,000 for our city. How about gas company? What they provide anything to us? Okay, how about the cable company? We don't even have a cable to broadcast tonight because they're all broken again. So what they to do with us? Okay, they took all our money. I pay like $250 a month for charter cable. I don't think we have anything they return to our city. And how about the phone company, Verizon? Okay, same thing too. I have Verizon, I have to pay them, but at the same time, what kind of contribution to our city? None whatsoever. I don't think they have anything. But Athens, at least they are willing, okay, to give us $300,000. I'm not a politician before. I'm a pure businessman, so I see this thing as a business point of view. Okay, with these 25 years, we really will hurt us. Okay, if we get rid of these 25 years, then we start counting and what we do with Athens and the must between ourselves and them. And do we have the asset to fight with them right now? Okay, right now, what I'm trying is to squeeze more things from Athens. And they're willing. I think they are going to take over our street sweeping, okay, and we're going to do that kind of thing. Hopefully, they are going to give us more. We need to negotiate, see what they can provide for us. Other than that, okay, I see really no point to feel good. I say, let's get rid of this 25 years Evergreen. Or can we get rid of Edison or water or gas or any company? Can we choose any other server? We don't have the choice. Okay, same thing to the to our church company. And every time I run my business, if I want to get RP and try somebody new, a lot of time I get something less service and more pay. So what I'm saying is this: when they provide good service, I think we have a termination clause. If they don't perform, then we could terminate their service, okay, their contract. But as long as they on the line doing a good job, continue to provide more things for us. And hopefully, Athens continue to contribute to our city, okay, and in one day till we financial strong and with less stress, okay, with less strength, okay, I think we should keep this till we have the lead in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Spence, you had some comments?
Yes, actually, I have several comments. And, you know, the 2012 contract that included the Evergreen is a bad contract, and I kind of agree mostly with the state controller about how that was formed. We've had a contract revision since then, which I think is better, that settlement agreement that we had. But the fundamental problem is not just the Evergreen, which from a public policy perspective I oppose. It's also the fact we have these franchise agreements, you know, that limit competition too. I mean, and that's how cities, they grant franchises in order to charge franchise fees or taxes, whatever you want to call them. I mean, that's why they do it. Edison pays it here, you know, all the charter pays it. I mean, they all pay a franchise fee to the city, and you know, that comes from the people that pay it. And so you have two public policy problems. You have an Evergreen and you have an exclusive franchise agreement. And so when it comes to what happens if we pull the trigger, just so you know where I'm coming from, the 300K, I mean, there's some people up here that say they're against taking the 300K, but they always vote to spend it in the budget. And then they don't identify where the 300K will come from. I know they didn't support my amendment that would have save the city a little more than that, much more than that if by forcing non-public safety things to reduce their costs. So I think we can absorb the 300K. You know, yeah, we wouldn't have the fireworks and all that stuff. So to me, you know, the rates would go up on multifamily, you know, and there could be costly legal battle if we intervened on behalf of citizens and stuff. And, you know, that's all stuff that we could afford as a city, at least in my view, if we were fiscally responsible. My problem, what someone can't explain to me, is under the exclusive franchise agreement, how do we comply with the state regulations when we've told the company that we're going to have for the next 25 years, we don't want to deal with you? Right now, we're indemnified for 50% diversion rates. The state's headed towards 75. They want us to do all this organics recycling. Every year, state of California, the legislatures come up with new things to impose on cities that cities are responsible for. So it's easy to say, yeah, we'll get another company to do that. Well, not with an exclusive franchise agreement, you won't. And so all those things that are in the past, many of them are bad. But what I can't figure out is, how are we helping citizens by making it very difficult and expensive to comply with the state mandates? Because that's the reality. If we don't have a way to negotiate with the company that's doing all of that for 25 years, what do you think we're going to be paying to comply with the state? We're either going to get fined or we're going to have to comply somehow. And that's my problem. People can't explain to me how we'll be able to keep those costs down on residents if we pull the trigger. I understand that people are mad at Athens, and there's some people that voted against people that donated to different people and all that stuff, and I don't care about that. You can, you know, people shouldn't get a contract because they get money, and they shouldn't lose a contract because they get money. But how are we going to comply with all the regulations from the state that are going to be very expensive if we're not able to deal with the company that for 25 years, even if we pull the trigger, has the agreement here and has the exclusive franchise agreement? That's a problem. And so while I don't like exclusive franchise agreements, I don't like evergreens, I don't see how it benefits residents to take out the sins of the past on their future rates, which is what we'll be doing if we pull the trigger tonight. So I support working with them to reduce the cost as much as possible of these state mandates that are being passed in Sacramento that are all going to be charged onto you. That's what I want to do. Keep the money in your pocket, not our pocket. I'm willing to give the $300,000 back to you if I can get 3 votes for that. You know, I'm fine because it's your money. But there weren't 3 votes to give the $650 back. There were only 2. And so that's what someone can't explain to me. Once that can be explained to me, then I can go back to those other public policy things. But to hurt residents because of stupid decisions in the past, I'm not willing to do that tonight.
Thank you. I have a question for our city attorney. So as Mayor Pro Tem Spence stated, if we were to get rid of the evergreen clause, do we have any right to negotiate additional services, hauling services, such as what the state is talking about imposing, where our organic waste are going to have to be separated and treated differently? What that means is the trash that you put in your green containers now that has been used for cover will no longer be allowed to use that. It's going to have to be treated differently. It's starting on the commercial end, where I think it's over 4 cubic yards. So all of our restaurants right now have to have a separate container. All of their food, either spoiling food or garbage, can't go down into the sewer. It's got to go into there, and then it's got to be treated differently. It cannot be used for ground cover anymore. It looks like that might happen, that the residents are going to also have to do that in 2020. Would that allow us to go out, since we have an exclusive franchise that doesn't end with the evergreen?
No, we would not be in a position to look for another vendor to provide those services unless we had an agreement with Athens that we could do so. There is a provision in their contract that specifically says they will work with us to implement additional diversion requirements from the state.
thank you. In addition, if we were to pull the evergreen, in the current contract, there is a clawback, which they might be right, we might be right, but that would probably, my guess, go to litigation.
Most likely,
And that,
unless they see the error of their ways.
and that would probably not be an inexpensive litigation, would be my guess, on either side.
No, would not be.
And if it did go to litigation and we won, would we be able to get back our fees?
No, because we don't have an attorney's fee provision in our contract.
Okay. So those are some of the problems with the contract. Look, is it a good contract? Yeah, for Athens it was. The 5 of us didn't negotiate that contract, but we have to live with it in the best way we can. Do I believe in evergreens? No. I don't really even believe in 25-year contracts. But that being said, there's talk that Athens can come to us every year and get an increase in the trash services. Frankly, the contract says, no, you can't do that. We don't have to give them an increase. The only thing we have to give them is a CPI in the contract. We do have to give them that every year. If the state comes to us and imposes new regulations, are we going to have to negotiate that portion of a contract? Yes, we will. If we go to another trash company and we don't have anything in a contract like that, yes, they can say, well, next year it's going to raise this much. Again, I don't like the contract. I think every year, whether other council members agree with me or not, we should be asking, do we want to get rid of the evergreen that particular year? Previous councils didn't do that. The reason why there were increases lately is when 3 of us were put on the council about 3.5 years ago, and Athens came to us asking for an increase and for their CPI. I personally said no. I said, I don't think everything in that contract is being done correctly as far as who's paying what, how much there were in tipping fees, and it took us a long time to get that worked out and figured out. And the city ended up getting back money, and we negotiated what I believe was the best deal that we could at that particular point in time. I think Athens, we have not stopped talking to Athens. We have been in, it's been almost a constant negotiation as I've seen it over this last 3.5 years. I think as long as we have Athens, we'll always be negotiating with them. It's just, I hate to say it, but it's the way trash is. We have certain state requirements that we have to meet, and frankly, we have a contract we have to meet. In that audit, it doesn't say it was illegal, that contract. It never said it was illegal. In fact, the courts have ruled that an evergreen is legal. Frankly, I was hoping they were going to rule that it wasn't, and that would have given us a way out. But that didn't happen. Was it a bad contract then? Yeah, I think it was, but I have to live with it. We as residents and as business owners in our city have to live with that. And for that reason, I am not today willing to get rid of that evergreen. With that, are there any other motions or comments?
Yeah, so the one of the clauses in the contract is the most favored nations clause, which says we're supposed to get the best rates of the cities. So I would move that we ask for staff to get the contracts, all the contracts that Athens has here in Southern California.
I have a question for staff and for legal. I know we've been looking at that, and there's been talks. Have we been looking at the other contracts that we talked about before, and what have we found?
We have looked at some of the contracts. We've discussed this issue with Athens, and they have indicated that because we have a different model than the other cities, because we don't have to sort our trash and the other cities do, that it's apples and oranges. So we are happy to continue to look at that issue. I know that we will continue working with Athens on the contract and trying to make it better. But if the council directs us to, we'll certainly look at every contract in Southern California.
So I have a motion. I think that was a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
I have a motion by Councilman Toma and a second.
I have a question,
Yeah,
if I may, before we do this.
Yeah, well, no, wait.
Before you vote on
We're
it.
not voting on it yet.
Oh, okay.
And a second by Mayor Pro Tem Spence. Any comments?
Thank you. I don't mind looking at something like that as long as we're looking at contracts that are equal to the city of West Covina in size and population.
Well,
And the
density
basic,
and-
I don't want to say Athens has a contract with residents of a city that's maybe 5 miles difference and maybe a 50, 60,000 people in it. I don't care, but it's a contract. It's going to be different than ours. But if it's equal to ours, I don't have a problem looking at them. Anything else, I just don't want to look at.
I don't have a problem in looking at that. I think a little differently than Councilman Johnson. I'm looking at someone that recycles, has just the 2 bins as we do. Some people have 3 bins. I think one city, Temple City, has 5 bins, and they do it twice a week, and they pay a lot more than we do. So I'm looking at someone because it does have to be alike. So I'm looking at once a week pickup. I'm looking at 2 bins. Excuse me?
That's not the motion, though.
Well, no, he just said, let's look at it. And I'm saying I would be okay with it if it's that way. Otherwise, I am not okay with that. Any other comments?
So I can see in the end deciding that something maybe you don't think it's comparable because of these differences. But if we're going to be looking for the contract, just pull the contracts. It's not that big of a deal to, you have to look at the contract to even figure out the bins anyway. You already have the contract at that point. So then you can make your distinctions and determinations about whether you think it's apples and oranges. But there's no harm in just getting the contract. It'd be the fastest thing where staff won't have to make some sort of discretionary decisions like, is this what they wanted? I don't know. It's like they're going to have to spend a lot of time just trying to figure out whether it's what we want or not. It's better for us to make that determination whether it's apples and oranges for them, because they're not going to have a good way of actually making that determination on their own.
So are you asking that they get every contract that Athens has in California, in Southern California, which are probably all close to 100 pages, and you're going to look through 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 pages? I don't think that's correct. Councilman Wu.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't think it makes any sense to get all the contract comparison. Okay, as a business, okay, you have your own contract. You negotiate your contract. Now you want to compare thousands of entire contract with all different of the term and the rate. Okay, I don't think it's feasible. Okay, and to our city manpowers and plus what they become. Okay, just because somebody have this and they can argue and say, hey, because they have this, they have less, so it's different. You have better rate. So it doesn't mean anything to get this contract approved. I don't think it doesn't make any sense at all. Okay, so I am totally against this.
Did you have?
All right,
Councilman Toma.
There seems to be a lot of resistance to even looking at a contract. LA County, it's 88 cities. I don't know how many contracts Athens has. Let's just compare LA County then. Cities in LA County that Athens has a contract with.
Can I ask Mr. Clifford to come up and ask how many contracts he's got in LA County? And I'd also like to ask you the question of how many relatively similar contracts do you have in LA County? Not exact, but just similar.
None of which are like, and having the most. It's being misused right now, but, you know, we've been working with staff. The staff has all of our rates of our other cities, and all that information is already out there.
So I have a motion and a second. We will take a roll call vote.
Johnson?
Aye.
Spence?
Aye.
Toma?
Aye.
Wu?
Nope.
Warshaw?
Motion passes 3-2.
I would like to make a motion that we return the $300,000 franchise fee as a rebate to customers and pay for that through a likewise percentage cut in non-public safety departments in discretionary spending.
Is there a second? Motion dies for lack of a second. With that, this meeting is adjourned.